Can a bouquet ever become the target of a bullet? Welcome to Shadows of Migration, where the shadows are told under the Arizona desert sun. A quiet street corner hears a wind chime clinking against the gas station awning. A silver-bearded man in a blue turban bends slowly, calloused hands pressing soil, setting a yellow daisy into the planter outside his store. 4 days after Ni Elev, he wants to do the smallest thing, plant a strip of flowers for the dead. From a distance, a pickup growls. Tires grind over gravel. A hateful glance. Then short, dry cracks rip the air. Petals fly with the dust. Silence slams down like an invisible wall. That man is Balbir Singh Sodhi. Wushar, a Sikh immigrant and owner of a small gas station in Mesa. The date is the 15th of September. Lan Tan Ling Yi. And this is the opening shot of a wave of blind hatred after 9/11s. Can you hear it? The ragged breath of people running over. The trembling hand dialing 911. Someone choking out one word. Why? The answer: brutal. Arrives that same night. The shooter is Frank Silva Roque. Sisharar, a man who had spent the day muttering about revenge. He mistook the turban and beard of a Sikh man for the face of an enemy that had consumed American television. When the cuffs clicked, he shouted, "I'm a patriot." The hollow slogan echoed under red and blue lights. In that instant, night didn't just fall over one family. It draped itself over Sikh, Muslim, Arab, and South Asian communities. People whose skin, head coverings, or names looked like someone on the news. And it began with something simple: seeing a turban and refusing to see the beating heart beneath it. Rewind half a day. That morning, Balbir pulled over, opened his wallet, and donated everything in it to a 9/11 Victims Fund. He called his younger brother, "Bring an American flag." Together they raised the flag, laid flowers, and built a small corner of remembrance outside the shop. A simple gesture that said, "This is our country too." Do you notice the gentlest people often prepare for an ordinary day just before tragedy strikes, from afar, before the shots? Roque's truck circled like a hunting animal. After killing Balbir, he sped off, fired into another store where a Lebanese clerk stood, then shot at a house he once lived in, now home to an Afghan family. No one else died that night. But those bullets still hover in the eyes of children who woke at midnight in fear. Police swarmed. Yellow tape cinched a ring. Patrol lights swept over crushed petals. A neighbor said Balbir handed out candy to kids and wiped his brow to greet strangers. A landscaper hadn't finished edging the flower bed. The small things became evidence. A desert gust kicked up, carrying a hint of gasoline and a heavy smell of fear. Next time you see a turban, what rises first in you? The color or the prejudice? The indictment came quickly. The trial was public, a case that chilled the nation with its symbolism. In 2003, a jury found Roque guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced him to death. In 2006, the Arizona Supreme Court reduced the sentence to life without parole, citing mental illness and intellectual limitations as mitigating factors. Justice, as usual, arrived in arguments, tears, and questions that refused to settle. How is hatred raised, and who lets it grow? In the days that followed, a graveyard of flowers rose in front of the Mesa Star station. Strangers held strangers. The American flag rippled beside the Khalsa flag. Every night, candles, every night, prayers and stories. People had only just found the courage to tell being spat on in crosswalks, being mistaken, cursed, and threatened by neighbors, at markets, in schools. They told each other about Balbir, his kindness, his dream to expand the shop, his plan to repaint the sign brighter after a dusty summer. People realized this wasn't an isolated blast. It was a systemic crack. When fear becomes a national language, who will translate it back into compassion? The cold numbers confirmed the dread. Between 2000 and 2001, hate crimes against Muslims in the U.S. rose 1.5%. In the first month after 9/11s, Sikhs alone recorded more than 300 incidents of bias and attacks. Numbers are pillars of stone, and each pillar is a face. The younger brother Rana Singh Sodhi became the face of a mission no one wants standing before cameras, classrooms, and auditoriums, explaining until his voice phrased that Sikhs are not Muslims, and at the same time, that no one deserves to die for their faith, whoever they are. Year after year, on the 15th of September, he holds a vigil in that same parking lot among the pumps. The place of falling becomes a place of gathering. The bullet that tore through a blossom becomes a seed of understanding. Do you see the paradox? To prove they belong in America, a family must carry their medical chart of wounds. Balbir's story doesn't end in a courtroom. It seeps into museums, his turban preserved as a reminder. It seeps into civics lessons, anti-bias programs, classes on religious difference. It seeps into community rituals, white candle evenings, and signs that read, "Love is stronger than hate." And it seeps into private conversations years later. Rana faced his brother's killer in prison. He spoke of forgiveness as a rough, uneven journey, not a flashy decision. Is forgiveness a betrayal of the dead, or the only way to close the black hole inside? Return to the opening frame, a man bending, darkened hands in the soil. Hear the tap of a trowel, leaves brushing, wind flowing through a flag. Those sounds could belong to anyone who loves a new homeland. That is why his tragedy becomes a mirror, forcing us to ask, how do we look at others through the loudspeaker of the news? Or through a learning heart, through wounded memory, or through a mind willing to know? In one sense, Balbir's story is a tragedy of misseeing, a system's misseeing, from hurried media to distracted neighbors. From curricula that skip minority faiths to security policies that make sorting too easy. Misseeing repeats until, one day, it pulls the trigger. Yet at that darkest point, simple hands still lifted this story up. A neighbor laying a wreath, a young officer saying, "I'm sorry," a child asking why a man wears a cloth on his head, and a mother, for the first time, telling the history of the Sikhs, how hair and turban are vows of faith, our dignity. Each explanation is a stone relaying a cracked road. What will you do when you catch a suspicious stare resting on someone's hair, skin, or turban? Imagine this: no gunshots that day. The truck just rolls past. The driver stops for water, meets Balbir's gentle smile, and I'd bet leaves with a piece of candy for his kid. Maybe he drives home with the mirror inside him cleared of dust. But history isn't written with if. It's written with facts and responsibility. The responsibility to look closer. The responsibility to learn each other. The responsibility to step in front of a slur, a shove of bias. The responsibility to choose kindness when fear grabs for the wheel. Because bouquets should not be targets. And because Balbir, a father, a husband, a gas station owner who loved the flag, and this land should still be here, brightening a freshly painted sign and cracking a small joke for a regular. Don't let ignorance and fear take the wheel of your life. Each time you learn about another faith, another community, you steer away from the cliff where bullets wait. If this story moves you, stay with Shadows of Migration. Subscribe, turn on the bell, share this video with someone who needs to hear about Balbir Singh Sodhi. Leave us a comment. What moment in your life turned prejudice into understanding? Here, we tell the shadows so we know where to light the way.